The year is 1177 AD. The powerful Khmer Empire has dominated the Southeast Asian mainland for centuries. A great and sophisticated civilization, they built the largest temple on earth, the resplendent Angkor Wat. And their capital is the largest city in the world. But now, the empire is faltering, and the Khmer suffer a great humiliation at the hands of an invading enemy. Their only hope lies with an exiled prince. The future of a great empire rests with one man. Centered in the vast northern plateau of what is now Cambodia, a great kingdom thrived for centuries. The Khmer were the builders of Angkor Wat, a masterpiece that's still the largest sacred structure ever built. Their culture was rich and complex, blending their adopted religion of Hinduism with older indigenous traditions and beliefs. Their art and monumental architecture was so impressive and advanced that some local people still believe they must have been built by gods. But it was a people of the Khmer Empire who built the great city of Angkor, and over 6 centuries filled it with nearly 1,200 splendid temples carved from stone. Eventually, this great civilization collapsed, and its capital city and grand temples were largely abandoned. Whatever invasions encroached here, the jungle's assault was the final one, swallowing much of the empire's former glory. It's often said that nature is the final conqueror of all things. Centuries ago, this jungle conquered and concealed a monumental human achievement, the ancient city of Angkor. Hi, I'm Yul Kwan. Cambodians had long whispered of a fabulous lost city in the jungle, and in 1860, the French botanist Henri Mouot discovered that it was real. And only now, 150 years later, are we starting to fully appreciate its secrets. Thanks to decades of painstaking research and restoration, we can travel back in time, recreate the splendor of ancient Angkor, and begin to understand how its creators lived. Angkor's lichen-covered temples still hide undiscovered treasures. This structure has been referred to as the Chamber of Jewels, where some claim glittering gems once adorned its walls. In the first half of the 12th century, the Khmer constructed Angkor Wat, the most massive temple on earth. The empire at that time dominated Southeast Asia and was ruled by a powerful and charismatic king, Suryavarman II. But after his death, the Khmer Empire faltered. Internal struggles and attacks by bordering empires weakened the Khmer territory. Then, in 1177, the Champa kingdom attacked Angkor. The Cham people ruled what is now Central and South Vietnam. Their surprise raid on the sacred city was a devastating event. A Khmer inscription tells a story. Full of proud confidence, the Cham king invaded our country, a paradise on earth. The invading king ravaged the city of Angkor and advanced on the Khmer royal palace itself. A stone sculpture records that, with a powerful fleet, he pillaged it and put the king to death, without listening to any reason or proposal of peace. The Khmer Khmer king lay dead. With their king murdered and their city occupied, the Khmer were deeply humiliated. To one man, the insults were unbearable. A royal prince whom history would call Jayavarman VII. In Cambodian culture, Jayavarman VII is both a hero and a mystery, with many details of his life remaining unknown. He was indeed a royal prince, though he probably didn't have a legitimate claim to the throne. He's believed to have been out of favor with the Angkor rulers, living with his wife in voluntary exile to avoid being killed. When the Cham army attacked, he wasn't in the city of Angkor and may in fact have been visiting the Champa Empire itself. Inscriptions carved during his reign describe him as a brave warrior, deeply pained by the subjugation of his native people. One account describes the brutal treatment of the Khmer at the hands of the Cham army. During the 8th moon, the king of Champa exacted from the Khmers thousands of human gallbladders. They would confront people, throw a hood over their heads. Then they would stab them in the side with a dagger and remove the gallbladder. This barbaric practice came from an ancient belief that the gallbladder contains a person's courage, and that by consuming the gall of one's enemies, a warrior would grow more brave and powerful. When Jayavarman VII heard of the brutal treatment of his people, he returned home to see for himself. Violence and chaos reigned in the occupied Khmer Empire. Jayavarman VII was already more than 40 years old when he learned the Khmer king had been killed. When he saw what was happening, he felt called to defend his homeland. The Khmer needed a hero and a galvanizing leader. But defeating the Cham would be no easy task. Jayavarman VII was born in Kampong Swai, more than 60 miles to the east of Angkor. Thanks to rich deposits of iron ore, the region was a major producer of weaponry. Jayavarman VII made this his home base as he worked to consolidate his power. He was able to raise a sizable army and began training, preparing his forces for war with the Cham. The Cham had invaded by water, bringing their fleet to the Mekong River, reaching Angkor from the giant lake Tonle Sap. Jayavarman VII's forces pushed the invaders back to the lake and eventually farther south. Then, in 1178, the Khmer hero and the Cham king clashed in a fierce battle. The Battle of Tonle Sap is perhaps the most famous in the history of ancient Cambodia. Khmer ships were almost 90 feet long and carried some 45 men. The Cham vessels were closely matched. The warriors fought with bows, arrows, and spears. The battle was long and bloody, and the forces fought hand to hand. Both Jayavarman VII and the Cham king fought alongside their men. An inscription reveals the outcome. Jayavarman VII slaughtered the Cham king and protected this land.